Hi team. Today we're going to be talking about test corrections. The purpose of test corrections is for students to be able to examine their errors in reasoning. So once we have determined which questions students most often miss, what we'll do is we'll look at what were the answer choices that they chose, and then what was the most often incorrect answer choice they chose. So that we can help them to examine their errors in reasoning by looking at what content they should be brain dumping in order to use that content to help them pick the correct answer or the best answer. So let's go ahead and dive into number 8 of the Earth Structures and Geologic Time Assessment. So the first thing we're going to do is R-Bug strategy. So basically we're going to go ahead and bracket the question. So which option describes how heat and the movement of Earth's tectonic plates contribute to the formation of an ocean basin? All right. So what they're trying to find, okay, is how the movement of Earth tectonic plates contributes to the formation of an ocean basin. Okay. So when we look at that, we look at the answer choices. The correct answer choice was actually C. At this time, we're going to go ahead and give the students the correct answer, and then we're going to look at why we should not have chosen the other answer choices, okay? So the correct answer states, heat from the mantle forms convection currents, causing the tectonic plates to diverge and form ocean basins. So we know that in the mantle, we have convection currents, right? We know that those convection currents will cause either divergent boundaries, convergent boundaries, or transform boundaries, okay? So when we look at our brain dumping technique, I think I want to add this paper, which is basically where kids can go ahead and do their brain dump for each question. And we can support them in what content they should understand in order to answer that question correctly. So let's start with the diagram because we most often love diagrams. So for number 8, we're going to talk about the tectonic plates. Okay, and there's 3 tectonic plates that we often talk about. That's going to be 1, the divergent boundaries, which is where we are now, which represents our correct answer. We have the convergent boundary, which is when the plates move together. Of course, the divergent boundary was when the plates are moving apart. And then the last one is the transform boundary, where the plates are sliding past each other. Okay, so we want to help bring students' attention back to that. Now let's talk about what occurs, what geologic process or geologic structure occurs as a result of these boundaries moving. And we said that these boundaries are moving as a result of those convection currents. So we know that convection currents in the mantle are causing this. In the mantle cause plate movement. Okay, so if a plate is moving apart, okay, then we know that there's going to be more exposed floor, all right? So when we think about an ocean basin, the word ocean basin, the word basin refers to a basket. So if the ocean basket, right, or basin is getting larger, that doesn't mean that more floor is being exposed in order for that ocean basin to get larger. We can't have plates coming together because that would decrease the ocean basin, or we can't have plates moving past each other because that doesn't create any form of an open floor, okay? So we know that an ocean basin, right, when an ocean gets larger, okay, it exposes more sea floor and therefore that floor now becomes a part of the ocean basin, okay, as that magma cools and hardens. So this happens as a result of divergent boundaries, and the answer choice that students were choosing, this happens as a result of divergent boundaries. Now let's talk about what happens as a result of convergent boundaries. So for convergent boundaries, we know that we have mountains when the plates are coming together and colliding with one another. We know that mountains form, okay? And we also know that volcanoes form. So when students think convergent boundaries, we want them to think mountains and we want them to think volcanoes. Now remember that convergent boundaries, the plates are coming together and you have the uplift that occurs forming mountains. Okay, when plates come together and they don't uplift, but they come together and they subduct under one another, that is what actually forms those volcanic structures, okay? So we have mountains forming as a result of convergent boundaries, and we also have volcanoes forming as a result of convergent boundaries, and this is as a result of subduction, and this is as a result of uplift because they're crashing into one another, okay? The event that occurs as a result of plates sliding past one another, that is earthquakes. So this is the event that we want students to remember when it comes to transform boundaries. So for divergent, we want them to think ocean basins, also ocean trenches, but ocean basins as a result of this question. Convergent boundaries, mountains and volcanoes, and then transform boundaries, earthquakes, okay? So now let's apply that understanding of what we just talked about to include convection currents in the mantle causing all of this plate movement, okay? Let's talk about that in relation to the question, and let's disprove the answer choices that were incorrect, okay? So A says heat from the mantle conducts, right? This word conducts, we know that heat transfer occurs as a result of conduction, convection, or radiation, right? So in this process, we talked about convection is the form of heat transfer that is happening here, not conduction or radiation, okay? So conducts would have been the word that would have made this answer choice incorrect. So heat from the mantle does not conduct, it actually convects, or convection is happening, okay? Through tectonic plates causing them to melt to form ocean basins. So we will want them to cross this out and write convection versus conduction. Heat from the mantle, B states, heat from the mantle forms convection currents, which we like, causing the plates to transform. We just said in our notes that in order for an ocean basin to form, transform boundaries don't occur, but divergent boundaries occur. Okay, so you're going to get kids to come back to the notes and disprove, based upon what we brain dumped, disprove each of these responses. So it does not occur as a result of transform boundaries. It actually occurs as a result of divergent boundaries. Okay, D says heat from the mantle conducts, there's that word again, conducts, through the tectonic plate, causing the plates to converge. Again, converge is not what's happening to form ocean basins, okay? So if we can get kids to X out the words in our RBUC strategy that make these answer choices incorrect, then they will be able to determine which answer choices are correct by eliminating those responses, that not just writing an X over here like we're trying to get them not to do, but eliminating responses by writing an X over the words that make those answer choices incorrect. Again, this should have been convection. Okay, so this is what test corrections looks like it's really moving back through the RBUC strategy to get them to do these pieces that we know they haven't done, but also to get them to brain dump what they understand about each question before they do so. And if we can get them to do some form of this during the assessment, not that it has to be drawn out like this, but if there's a diagram that can be drawn that will support them picking or choosing the correct answer, we want them to be able to draw diagrams and to be able to eliminate answer choices that are incorrect. We will be reviewing this in Common Planning, so hopefully you all have an opportunity to review on your own and to practice within your own time to be able to perform this with students. Thank you so much. We're going to be making copies of a sheet that looks like so that students have a test correction sheet to be able to brain dump and put their thinking into action. Okay, thank you so very much. Looking forward.